September 7th, 1978. Waterloo Bridge, London. Rush hour traffic crawls across the Thames as a light drizzle begins to fall. Georgi Markov, a Bulgarian dissident broadcaster working for the BBC World Service, waits at a bus stop on the South Bank. He feels a sharp sting in his right thigh. Turning, he sees a man bent down, apparently picking up a dropped umbrella. The man mutters an apology in a foreign accent, hails a taxi, and disappears into the London traffic. 3 days later, Georgi Markov is dead. The murder weapon was an umbrella, but this was no ordinary umbrella, and the pellet it fired was engineered with a precision that would have impressed even British weapons designers. The Bulgarian Umbrella had just demonstrated that Cold War assassination technology had reached a level of sophistication that made earlier methods look primitive by comparison. The umbrella itself appeared entirely unremarkable. Black canopy, wooden curved handle, approximately 36 inches in length when closed, standard weight distribution, nothing that would draw a second glance on a rainy London street. Yet concealed within that mundane exterior was a pneumatic firing mechanism capable of propelling a spherical pellet measuring just 1.7 millimeters in diameter with sufficient force to penetrate winter clothing and embed itself beneath human skin. The pellet itself represented the pinnacle of covert weapon design. Manufactured from a platinum-and-iridium alloy, it was drilled with 2 perpendicular holes forming a cross-shaped cavity. Inside that cavity sat 0.2 milligrams of ricin, one of the most lethal naturally occurring toxins known to science. The holes were sealed with a coating of wax designed to melt at body temperature.
But how did British intelligence come to understand this weapon so thoroughly? And why did they conclude the Bulgarians had created something even they had not attempted? The answer begins not in Sofia or Moscow, but in Porton Down, the British chemical and biological research establishment in Wiltshire. By 1978, British weapons researchers had spent decades studying assassination methods for potential use by special forces and intelligence services. They understood ricin, they understood pneumatic firing mechanisms, they understood the concept of time-delayed poison delivery. What they had never done was combine all 3 elements into a single deployment system disguised as an everyday object. The reason was not technical inability. The reason was strategic doctrine. British assassination planning, when it occurred at all, favored methods that allowed for deniability through apparent accident or natural causes.
A puncture wound, no matter how small, invited forensic investigation. The Bulgarians, working under Soviet guidance, had taken a different approach. They had accepted the risk of detection in exchange for operational simplicity and reliability. The ricin pellet design solved a problem that had plagued poison delivery systems since antiquity. How do you ensure the poison remains stable during storage, deployment, and the critical moments before absorption, whilst guaranteeing it will be released at precisely the right time? The wax coating answered that question with elegant simplicity. At room temperature, the pellet was inert. The ricin remained sealed inside its platinum-iridium container. But once embedded in human tissue, body heat would begin melting the wax within minutes. As the wax dissolved, the ricin would diffuse into surrounding tissue. The victim would feel nothing beyond the initial sting of impact. By the time symptoms appeared, the pellet would be virtually impossible to locate without knowing exactly where to look, and by then it would likely be too late. The pneumatic mechanism itself was a masterwork of miniaturization. Compressed gas, most likely carbon dioxide, was stored in a reservoir within the umbrella shaft. A trigger mechanism, probably activated by pressing a button disguised as part of the handle assembly, would release the gas through a narrow barrel directed along the umbrella's length. The pellet would be accelerated to approximately 150 feet per second, not particularly fast by firearm standards, but more than sufficient for the intended range of less than 3 feet. The entire firing sequence would be nearly silent. Witnesses at Waterloo Bridge reported hearing nothing. The physical recoil would be negligible. An operator could fire the weapon and walk away without drawing attention. British intelligence first learned of Markov's death through routine liaison channels. Initial reports suggested a heart attack or stroke, but Markov's colleagues at the BBC knew he had been in good health. They also knew he had received death threats from the Bulgarian government. His broadcasts had been relentlessly critical of Todor Zhivkov's regime. He had exposed corruption at the highest levels. He had ridiculed the Bulgarian Communist Party's claim to represent the people's interests. In Sofia, Markov was considered a traitor deserving of the harshest punishment.
The autopsy revealed no obvious cause of death. Markov's organs showed signs of catastrophic failure, but pathologists could not immediately identify why. Then Dr. Rufus Crompton, conducting the post-mortem examination at Wandsworth Public Mortuary, noticed something unusual in the tissue sample from Markov's right thigh, a tiny metallic sphere. Under microscopic examination, the sphere revealed its cross-shaped cavity and the traces of a waxy substance. Samples were rushed to Porton Down for analysis. If you're finding this deep dive into Cold War assassination technology interesting, subscribing helps the channel and ensures you don't miss the next one. The Porton Down analysis confirmed what British intelligence had suspected. The pellet contained ricin. Not just traces, not contamination, deliberately loaded ricin in a purpose-built delivery system.
The implications were immediate and disturbing. Ricin poisoning has no antidote. A dose of just 0.2 milligrams, properly delivered, is sufficient to kill an adult human. The symptoms progress through predictable stages: initial nausea and vomiting, severe abdominal pain, internal bleeding, organ failure. Death typically occurs within 3 to 5 days. The timeline matched Markov's deterioration exactly. British weapons specialists recognized the design philosophy immediately. This was not improvised. This was not experimental. This was a production weapon system that had been tested, refined, and deployed operationally. The precision machining of the pellet indicated access to sophisticated manufacturing equipment. The platinum-iridium alloy was chosen specifically for its biocompatibility and resistance to detection by standard metal detectors. The cross-shaped cavity maximized poison storage whilst maintaining structural integrity.
Every design choice reflected careful consideration of operational requirements. The umbrella mechanism showed similar sophistication. Post-incident investigation, aided by intelligence from defectors, revealed that the Bulgarians had manufactured multiple copies. Each was tested to ensure reliability under various weather conditions. The pneumatic system was designed to function in temperatures ranging from -10 to +30 degrees Celsius. The trigger mechanism incorporated a safety catch to prevent accidental discharge. The entire assembly could be disassembled for maintenance and reassembled without specialized tools. Soviet involvement became apparent through technical analysis. The precision machining and metallurgical expertise required to produce the pellets exceeded Bulgarian capabilities in 1978. KGB technical specialists had almost certainly provided both the design specifications and the manufacturing support. This was Directorate T work. The Directorate responsible for scientific and technical intelligence also oversaw development of special equipment for covert operations. The umbrella gun bore their signature: clean, effective, ruthlessly practical. British intelligence compared the Bulgarian weapon to their own historical assassination devices. During the Second World War, SOE had developed silent pistols, knife guns, and explosive devices disguised as everyday objects. The well-rod pistol could dispatch a target with minimal noise from close range. The sleeve gun allowed an operative to fire whilst keeping both hands apparently empty. The explosive rats and coal lumps demonstrated British ingenuity in creating innocuous-looking weapons. But none of these devices attempted what the Bulgarians had achieved. None used chemical or biological agents in conjunction with a ballistic delivery system. None relied on time-delayed action to separate cause from effect. The Americans had explored similar concepts. CIA technical services had experimented with poison delivery systems throughout the Cold War. Contaminated cigars intended for Castro, shellfish toxin concealed in a modified automobile tire, poison pills that could be crushed between the teeth. But American systems generally required either the target's cooperation, such as consuming contaminated food or drink, or circumstances that allowed extended access. The umbrella gun required neither. It could be deployed in seconds in a crowded public space. The operator could vanish before the target even realized anything had happened. Evidence emerged of at least one earlier attack using the same weapon system. Vladimir Kostov, another Bulgarian dissident, had been attacked in Paris 10 days before Markov's death.
Kostov felt a sharp pain in his back whilst riding an escalator in the metro. He developed fever and illness, but survived. Doctors in Paris discovered a pellet identical to the one that killed Markov embedded in Kostov's back. The wax seal had apparently failed to dissolve properly, preventing the ricin from dispersing into his system. Kostov's heavy coat may also have reduced the pellet's penetration depth, keeping it further from major blood vessels. The failed assassination provided crucial evidence. It proved the Markov attack was not isolated. It confirmed the weapon was being used operationally, and it demonstrated that even sophisticated systems could fail under field conditions. The investigation revealed the operational parameters. The weapon's effective range was approximately 1 meter.
Beyond that distance, accuracy degraded rapidly and penetration became uncertain. This explained why the assassin had positioned himself so close to Markov. It also explained the cover story of dropping the umbrella. The act provided justification for being within striking range whilst appearing natural and unthreatening. The apologetic demeanor, the foreign accent, the immediate departure by taxi, all were calculated elements of tradecraft designed to minimize the operator's exposure time at the scene. British security services assessed that multiple operatives had been trained in the weapon's use. The deployment required confidence and practice. The operator needed to position the umbrella correctly, activate the trigger at precisely the right moment, and maintain composure under the pressure of a public environment. This suggested formal instruction, probably at a facility within Bulgaria or the Soviet Union.
Training would have included both technical operation and tactical employment, how to approach a target, how to create an opportunity for close contact, how to withdraw without attracting attention. The forensic investigation at Porton Down produced a detailed technical assessment. The ricin had been prepared using industrial extraction methods from castor beans. The purity exceeded 95%. Amateur preparation typically yields far lower concentrations with significant contamination. This was professional-grade biological agent. The platinum-iridium alloy contained precisely 25% iridium, a proportion chosen to optimize both mechanical strength and X-ray transparency. The pellet's surface had been polished to surgical smoothness to prevent tissue damage that might draw attention or impede penetration. Production numbers remain classified, but intelligence assessments suggest the Bulgarians manufactured between 10 and 20 complete umbrella gun systems. Each would have been accompanied by multiple pellets to allow for operational flexibility. The total ricin requirement for this production run would have been minimal. A single gram could load several hundred pellets. The limiting factor was not the poison, but the precision engineering required to produce the pellets themselves. Each one needed to be identical in dimension and weight to ensure consistent ballistic performance. The political aftermath extended far beyond the immediate investigation. The British government declared several Bulgarian diplomats persona non grata. Intelligence cooperation with Bulgaria, already minimal, ceased entirely. The assassination demonstrated that even London, with its extensive security services and surveillance capabilities, was not immune to foreign state-sponsored murder. The psychological impact on other dissidents was immediate.
Many who had felt safe in Western exile realized they remained vulnerable. The weapon itself entered the permanent collection of evidence held by British counterintelligence. The pellet removed from Markov's body became one of the most significant exhibits in Cold War espionage history. Photographs of it, magnified to show the cross-shaped cavity, appeared in training materials for security services worldwide. The umbrella gun represented a threshold. It showed that assassination technology had evolved beyond crude methods into sophisticated systems that could defeat conventional security measures through sheer audacity and technical excellence. No prosecution ever occurred. The suspected assassin, identified through investigation as Francesco Guglino, a Danish citizen of Italian origin working for the Bulgarian Secret Service, was never apprehended. He disappeared into the Eastern Bloc immediately after the attack.
Britain requested extradition multiple times. Bulgaria denied any knowledge of his whereabouts. After the fall of communism, Bulgarian authorities acknowledged the attack but claimed records had been destroyed. Guglino reportedly died in Austria in 2007. He never faced trial.
The umbrella gun proved at sometimes the most effective weapon is not the most powerful, but the most unexpected. A 1.7mm pellet, smaller than a grain of rice, achieved what armies could not. It silenced a voice that had reached millions. It demonstrated that in the covert world, innovation and audacity could compensate for conventional military inferiority. And it left a legacy that would influence counterintelligence training and diplomatic security protocols for decades. The Bulgarians had created something that even British weapons designers, with all their wartime experience and technical sophistication, had considered too risky to deploy.
They were not playing games. They were rewriting the rules of state-sponsored assassination for the Cold War era.